Alright, player ratings time, and man, I'm still buzzing from this morning's game between Arsenal and Atletico Madrid, where obviously we came out the winners 1-0, and we're going to Budapest for the Champions League finals for the second time in our history and for the first time in 20 years. Man, what a night, and still doesn't hasn't sort of hasn't sunk through. Can't believe we did it. It's been a lot of heartbreak. Obviously, last year we reached the semis. We were so close, but PSG were able to knock us out. But this time, we've been rewarded with our fantastic Champions League form. We are still undefeated, and have so many clean sheets to tell for it. And then after a pretty cagey affair with Atletico, I think it's pretty expected to be said. We've finally made it, and obviously the opponents will be decided tomorrow morning for me. So let's see who we go against. I think both teams, we have our reasons to go up against. Obviously PSG for the revenge for last year, and then Bayern for all the years of heartache they've caused us in the round of 16s, as they have constantly knocked us out in that sort of round in the Champions League years prior. All right, player ratings. Let's start off again with the goalkeeper, David Raya, and I'm going to put David Raya as a very good. It was a very tidy goalkeeper performance. He didn't make any mistakes, at least to my memory. He was very tidy with his. He made a couple of saves, not extremely difficult saves, but saves nonetheless, and commanded the back line really well, and claimed many a corner. Was very good. In terms of distribution, I was actually pretty impressed with his accuracy tonight. He was hitting the wingers quite often. There was a long pass that he was able to find Ben White on the wing, and that led to an attack. So yeah, really impressed with Raya, and definitely one of the best keepers in the world, and we're so happy to have him. Yeah, great performance from David Raya. Ben White, I'm gonna put him as a good. I've seen through a lot of feedback. I think a lot of people have rated Ben White's performance really highly. Obviously, good's not a bad result. I'm gonna put him as a good. I wasn't as satisfied with the way he started the game. Obviously, the way you start the game, it's not as, I guess, defining as as the later stages of the game, but it does set the tone. And he started the game with a few misplaced passes, and potentially that could have gotten us with a bit more momentum at the start of the game. But he definitely grew throughout the game. His connection with Saka has always been phenomenal and will always be phenomenal, and it continued to be like that. He was able to find Saka with some beautiful behind the line passes, and Saka was ever so dangerous all game long when he was on the pitch. And defensively, Ben White was very solid. One of the best defensive performances from Ben White. Coming into this game, I was always a bit worried about White's form. I was a little bit unconvinced with his prior two games coming into this game, but this game, he definitely stepped up, definitely showed why he's still a quality fullback, and why he's in the England national team. So yeah, really pleased with Ben White's performance still. I think there's still a lot of room for growth and for improvement, but satisfied with his performance this night. And defensively, which is obviously the one thing I criticised him about, he stepped up big time tonight. William Saliba. He had a pretty fantastic night all around, but I'm only giving him as good because of that one single error. And it was definitely a very costly error, and it could have been a very costly error, I should say, because if not for Gabriel, more on him later, we could have, Atletico definitely could have drawn level early in the second half, and and again, Atletico can sit back in that low block, which, took a lot of effort to break down eventually, but definitely didn't want to have to go through that again. And so Saliba's header back to Raya, definitely unnecessary. Should have just controlled it. He was all alone. Could have even headed to White, who was right beside him, but instead tries to head it back to Raya, who was still a far way away from the box. It lands short. Simeone intercepts it, and if not for Gabriel, we're 1-1, and you never know what's going to happen there. But overall, outside of that, Saliba ever so calm, ever so defensively solid. Not much to be said there. So yeah, except for that one moment, he had a very good performance. But because of that one moment, because of how crucial, how match defining that could have been, I have to deduct a lot of points for that. All right, on to Gabriel, and Gabriel was my man of the match. I think there's been a lot of talks of who is the actual man of the match, and you could pick so many players out of this squad because everyone performs to such a high level. And they really wanted this game so badly. They wanted to reach Budapest so badly, but for me, Gabriel was my man of the match, and with an excellent rating. He was superb all night long. He was so strong in every tackle, every duel, every aerial duel he won, all the crosses and the corners that came through. He dealt with extreme confidence and calmness. Obviously saved us from a goal, and defended it really, really well. Didn't give away a penalty. Just did enough to bring Simeone to the ground without actually like fouling him. Obviously, you could argue he did lay an arm around him, but I think Gabriel was just stronger in the duel and just wrestling for position, and he did brilliant there. And made a couple of really key blocks. What did Gabriel not do outside of score a corner goal? He was amazing for me. He was definitely my main man tonight. So yeah, really pleased with Gabriel, obviously. Alright, let's move on to finish off the backline. Calafiori. I think Calafiori was good. Defensively solid. A lot of the attacks came down his side of the pitch as Griezmann and Alvarez were combining a lot with can't remember who else it was. Was it Simeone? I think it's Simeone, right? So they combined a lot and tried to beat down that right wing. So obviously on Calafiori's side, and he did a pretty okay job. Obviously not flawless. There was a couple of opportunities that came from that side. One of which, we were lucky not to. We were pretty fortunate that Gabriel was fouled before Calafiori fouled Griezmann in the box. So in another world, Gabriel doesn't foul and Calafiori commits a penalty, committing tackle, but instead, it's all okay. Couple of offside decisions on his side that could have led to attacks. So yeah, they were very threatening, Atleti, along that side, but I think Calafiori did an okay job. So yeah, for me, he was good. Didn't give up too many clear-cut opportunities. Made it difficult for the defense, for the attack. So did a good job. Going forward, didn't really have much of an impact as much as he would like. I'm sure he would, as opposed to Hincapié, who came on, and I think he performed slightly better than Calafiori. I think defensively, Hincapié was a lot more solid, and he delivered that brilliant cross that Gyökeres nearly buried. And if only that went in, man, 2-0 up, second half, the game was definitely out of reach for Atleti. But yeah, just a good for Calafiori. Miles Lewis Skelly. Gonna put him as a good. Obviously rewarded for his efforts against the Fulham game. And I think again he put in a really good shift playing in that box to box role. So again, Declan Rice dropping back, being that defensive anchor between the lines. And I think Arteta has made that change, and I think it's a very good change. I think Declan Rice is a little bit more suited to be that back line, being able to command, you know, the back line and really win the physical battle of aerial duels. So it allows players like Lewis Skelly, like Zubimendi, to express themselves going forward, and I think they are a bit better than Declan Rice when it comes to going forward, making those progressive passes, making those runs. Obviously, Rice is phenomenal at making those galloping runs down the pitch, but in those like half-turn situations, I think Zubimendi and Miles are a bit more agile in that sense and a bit more technically secure. So, yeah. So Miles comes in for Zubimendi, a big call for Arteta to do that. Because he only just came in for the Fulham game, and it's Fulham. Fulham is no Atleti. So he was satisfied enough to give him the start here, and Miles definitely proved his worth. Definitely is one not to shy away from the big moments, and he was really good for me. Didn't make any mistakes. Won some fouls. Was strong in the midfield. Overall, led to a reason why we controlled the game so well, because we won the midfield battle quite often. Obviously, going forward didn't really have as much impact as he would like, although he did have that one crossing opportunity where he was able to fight his way against Alvarez, work his way down the byline, and unfortunately couldn't pick anyone out with his low cross into the box. Arguably, Gabriel should have done better there, should have made that run towards the back post, but I think that was the one chance for Lewis Skelly to get an assist. Unfortunately, didn't happen, but otherwise, a great performance, and I'm sure Arteta will probably put him as the starting lineup with in a couple more games going forward. Not sure if he'll continue doing it. Maybe in the final, we'll see, because I think Zubimendi is now quite rested, and we only have to play one game per week from now on. So it's ample time for players to get some rest, get some physical training in between games, and I think that's something that Zubimendi struggled definitely during the early stages of this calendar year. But you've seen Zubimendi come on the pitch later on these couple of games, and he's been looking fresh, he's looking energized, he looks really dangerous. So we'll see how Arteta treats Lewis Skelly going forward, but for now, he's definitely earned his right to be that box-to-box midfielder, whether it be starting or on the bench. Declan Rice. He was the man of the match for the night on the official broadcast. For me, he was very good. Man, what a defensive presence he is. And we're so lucky to have him to lead that defensive line. We have Gabriel, Saliba, and in front of them is Rice. A three-headed monster that you just can't get through. They are a brick wall that you just cannot break down, and Rice is the head of it all. So many key tackles, so many key interceptions. Just an overall immense game from Declan Rice, and every day we get reminded of 100 million was his transfer fee, and it just feels like a steal every single time he puts on these performances. And it really thinks like, man, if Arsenal wins, does the double, and if England goes on to have a really good performance in the World Cup, is Declan Rice a shout for the Ballon d'Or? Who knows? Obviously, he's not the biggest goal scorer, but the way he controls the game, the flow of the game, the way he commands so much attention on the back line, and he himself made some great runs from the back line all the way to the front, creating a lot of good opportunities. Unfortunately, didn't quite capitalize on them, but yeah, great performance, Declan Rice. What a player we have in him, and hopefully he stays at Arsenal for a very long time. Eberechi Eze. Might be harsh here. I'm gonna only give him an average. I didn't really feel like he had much of a presence in this game, and the game was played a lot around him because of the low block that Atleti set up for most of the game, especially in the first half. Eze was forced to drop deep to receive the ball, but most of the time when he did receive, he was forced to lay it off immediately, wasn't able to take the ball on a half turn to make those dribbling runs because Atleti did not afford any space for Eze to manufacture his dribbling prowess. So, credit to Atleti for shutting Eze down, and Eze didn't really have any great looks at goal at all. So yeah, didn't have the most dominating performance. And yeah, and I guess that's the difference between Odegaard and Eze. When Odegaard came on, that's his sort of game, dropping deep, receiving the ball, orchestrating the offense from there. Eze, not so much. So, and against a low block like that, it can be difficult for someone that loves to stay up top, and that's the number 10, and make those goal assisting contributions. So it's a tough night to give him the space to operate, but that's sometimes how the team is set up against you. Bukayo Saka, man, thank God we have him back, as he was a very good as well for me. Yeah, again, very, very happy to have him back into the starting lineup. Madueke has given us a very good shift, but ultimately Saka is just a step way above in terms of quality, in terms of his finishing product. Great poacher's instinct from Saka to get the goal. It's rare to see wingers to have that instinct to make that run, to anticipate the shot coming on from Trossard, to anticipate the knock-on that potentially could have come, and Saka was there in the right place at the right time with the right moment to score that tap-in. And otherwise was very dangerous behind the lines against Atleti. Unlucky not to, there was an early cross chance that he tried to cut back and find Leandro Trossard. Unfortunately, it gets intercepted, but he was dangerous for a lot of the night, was Saka. Taken off pretty early on in the second half, making sure that he's still nursing, just coming off an injury. So he just got to manage his minutes a little bit. But Arteta, again, really, and more Arteta later, obviously, but big credit to him for being brave with not just the starting 11 selection, but also being brave with the subs. Not hesitating to pull off some of the better performers of the match, and just have a lot of trust and a lot of faith in our depth in the squad. And I mean, that's why we have this squad, right? You got to use it. And I think Arteta is starting to really trust in everyone to deliver in the big moments. But yeah, Saka, very good, scores the winning goal and sends us to the Champions League finals. Alright, Leandro Trossard. He has found his form back. Very good performance from him, I'm going to say. Technically, it was immaculate. I don't think I recall him losing the ball at his feet at all this whole game. That's his superpower, and he's finally found it back. He was dangerous, receiving the balls out wide and being able to work his way in and being a threat. But most importantly, was very, very smart with his decision making, knowing when to recycle the ball back to the back line, knowing when to take the player on, and was very technically secure. So yeah, and again, obviously very involved in the goal that we were able to create. His shot produces a save from Oblak, but wasn't able to knock it away from the path. Only was able to knock it into the path of Saka, who taps it in. So, and in the moment you would think, oh, Trossard sort of overplayed it. He dribbled a little bit too much. Should have laid it off to Eze, but Trossard was skillful enough to manufacture enough space to get the shot off, and it led to the goal. So can't fault him for any of that. So yeah, what a time to get back into form. Trossard, we have missed you so much. Finally, of our starting 11, Victor Gyökeres, very, very good. Oh man, I've been debating whether I should put him as an excellent. I think if he had only scored that goal in the second half from the cross of Hincapié, I would have immediately slammed him into the excellent category and immediately would have given him man of the match. No goals, no assists, but one of the best centre forward performances I've seen for a very long time in an Arsenal shirt. That was incredible to watch. The way he fought for every single ball, the way he fought for every single duel. His physicality overpowered both Lenormand and what's his name? Pulley? Can't remember his name. But he was unguardable. The way he used his body to shield the ball as it dropped, and then turn the defender so that he's actually running onto the ball most of the time was phenomenal. The way he did that consistently was an absolute pain in the butt for Atleti to deal with. He drew so many fouls. Arguably, the ref only gave one yellow in the passage of play. Obviously, he gave more yellows, but there were more to the sidelines, to the coaches, one to Calafiori on the bench. But only one yellow on the pitch. I don't think that represents how much of a nuisance Gyökeres was, and he just fights. And you gotta give credit to him, man. His fitness level must be out of this world. We always talk about Declan Rice's fitness, talk about Zubimendi's fitness. There's not enough to be said about Gyökeres' fitness. He was running, sprinting for the ball, racing up the pitch to chase the ball, going back to the keeper at the 90th minute. That's your starting striker who's been battling it out against centre halves, battling it out, making forward runs, and he's still sprinting in the 90th minute. It's just amazing. He just fights for the badge so much, and you can say whatever you want about him. Earlier in the season, his ineffectiveness to hold the ball up, whatever, but you can see the growth in this player. You can see what an immense talent he can be, and his willingness to take on the criticism, work on his game, and become the product that he is now, especially in the last two games, Fulham and this game, Atleti, has been phenomenal. So yeah, I'm super happy for him. I've always been a Gyökeres believer, even through the criticisms, because I know he always works his butt off, and you cannot have enough players that have that quality in them, that have that fight in them. And big ups to Arteta, again, brave with the lineup, brave with the subs, really smart with managing the minutes of Saka, who's still nursing injuries, putting on Odegaard and Zubimendi to control the game later on in the stages, knowing when even the sub of Madueke was really good. I think Madueke obviously didn't have much of an impact going forward, but I think he did a brilliant job getting back. At times, Madueke throughout the season has been pretty shaky with his defensive role, but this game, chased many a ball down, fought for it. So big credit to Madueke. And Capier was a great sub as well, knowing that Calafiori was struggling a little bit in the second half to contain that right side. Puts on Hincapié some fresh legs, and Hincapié does a brilliant job and nearly immediately conjures up a goal. And Odegaard as well. Odegaard's second touch was a shot that just sails over the bar. So yeah, great subs and a great game plan. We controlled the game ever since. Pretty much from minute one, we controlled the game. There was a bit of a period at the beginning of the second half, maybe the first 10 to 20 minutes, where we were sort of struggling. Atleti were trying to fight back. They were getting a few chances at goal. But outside of that, I think we controlled the game extremely well. Arteta, big ups. Excellent. Excellent. What a manager we have. What a manager we have. Alright, a quick one with the subs. So Madueke came on, I believe, first for Saka. And again, as I said before, didn't have much of an offensive impact, but I think defensively was really, really good. He had a great work rate. He was quick. He's chasing balls down, chasing the attackers down. So a really solid game from Madueke. Odegaard comes on for Eze, and you can definitely see the impact he has on the pitch. He is the captain voted by the players, and he is there for a reason. You can see the trust of the players that they have in Odegaard. The way Odegaard commands the troops on the pitch is really great to see, and he really does. You can say anything about him, about going forward, making those progressive passes, being goal assist contributions, but defensively, when you need to control the game, when you need to see out the game, Odegaard is your man. He drops deep. He's technically very, very secure, and he more often than not makes the right decisions in a very controlled environment. So when we're one goal ahead, at least, Odegaard should be our main man in the midfield. Talking of main mans in the midfield, Zubimendi comes on for Lewis Skelly, and again, he looks really refreshed when he comes off the bench. These last two games, he's come off the bench for Lewis Skelly. I mean, last game was for Rice, but this game for Lewis Skelly, and he looked really fresh, and he was back to his energized best, like we saw him in the beginning of the season. Winning balls, winning tackles, winning interceptions, making great passes, controlling the ball, all the good stuff that you need from your defensive midfielder. Zubimendi showed it all. Quick, Hincapié comes on for Calafiori, and again gave us that much needed defensive solidarity, and nearly delivers a game-winning or game-securing cross. It was a beautiful first-time cross, right on the money. Gyökeres tries to control it on the volley, just sails over the bar. If only that went in. But great contribution from Capier. And Martinelli came on pretty late in the game for Trossard, just there for mainly just for fresh legs and Martinelli's work rate coming back on defense. Won a couple of corners here and there. Did a good job, despite only being on the field for just a few minutes. But yeah, that's my player ratings. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you, comment on what I got wrong. Am I too harsh? Am I too lenient? Probably, maybe I am a bit harsh on some of the players. I think as a team whole, we performed at an excellent level. I think there's just some that stood out more than the others, in my opinion. So yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, what a great win it was.